Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is the third video in the series of Pancha Mahapurush Yoga which I recently started. The last two videos were about Hamsa Mahapurush Yoga formed by Jupiter and Malavya Mahapurush Yoga formed by Venus. Today we are going to talk about another auspicious Mahapurush Yoga which is called Sasha Mahapurush Yoga. And Sasha Mahapurush Yoga is formed by Saturn, Shani. Personally, Saturn is one of my favorite grahas because it is the most beautiful grahas of them all. And I started learning astrology in the start of my Saturn Mahadasha as well. And this is one graha which I can sort of talk about n number of times. So maybe that'll be for a later point in time, but today we'll sort of focus on Sasha Mahapurush Yoga. So when is this yoga formed? When does the beautiful graha Saturn bestow us with this Mahapurush Yoga? When Saturn makes an association with Kendra. So Saturn, when it is placed in any of the Kendra houses, the first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, or the 10th house, in its own sign or in the sign of exaltation. So either it's in its own sign of Capricorn or Mool Trikona sign of Aquarius, or in the sign of Libra where it gets exalted. That's when Sasha Mahapurush Yoga is formed. Now there are only certain ascendants who can have this Sasha Mahapurush Yoga. Unlike Malavya Mahapurush Yoga can occur in all of the ascendants, Aries through Pisces, but Sasha Mahapurush Yoga would only happen for the fixed and the movable signs. So the 2, 5, 8, 11 and 1, 4, 7, 10. So Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio and Aquarius. So only for these ascendants Sasha Mahapurush Yoga will be applicable. For the dual signs, that's 3, 6, 9 and 12, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, Sasha Mahapurush Yoga cannot be formed because none of these signs so none of these signs of Capricorn, Aquarius or Libra falls in any of the Kendras there. So for that reason, so it is an auspicious yoga again, but then Saturn being one of the natural malefic, besides Mars. So maybe the next video will about Ruchak Mahapurush Yoga of Mars. So these yogas have some positive aspects and sort of have some negative sides as well at the same time. And that is applicable for each and every graha. They have their own plus and minuses. So as per the Vedic text, okay, as per Shastras, as per the book 300 Important Combinations by Dr. Raman, when this yoga occurs for a native, okay, it is said that they command good servants, okay, because that's what Saturn represents as well. On the negative side, their character is questionable. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about this in a bit. Okay, the native is also likely to be the head of a village or a town or even a king. They gain wealth. They gain wealth by the virtue of others. So by the cost of other people who could be either wealthy or poor as well, by the virtue of their suffering, they gain wealth. Okay, Saturn itself is the king maker. If Surya, sun is the king, Saturn is the king maker, and such is its importance in the zodiac. Some of the more positive traits that the native is likely to have is it makes a person disciplined, it makes a person have a command over other people, it makes an individual organized as well, particularly when Saturn's either placed in the Lagna or the 7th house. It does make the person quite disciplined in nature. Okay. On the negative side, it does tend to make the individual wicked as well in disposition. So, of course, gaining through others' wealth and so by the virtue of other suffering, quite necessarily sort of indicates that it is related that it may make the native wicked in nature. We also must consider some of the inherent nature and qualities of Saturn. So Saturn generally in inherent nature, though it has tons of positive sides as well, but it is cruel, it is sinful, it is undignified, and it is mean. So these are some of the negative characteristics of Saturn as well. But on the positive side, it is all about discipline, it is all about hard work, it is all about your karma, your actions in the society, how you could leverage the best from Saturn is by helping poor people. But then there are certain conditions which would indicate whether the Sasha Yoga will go this way or that way, whether it will be positive or whether it will have the more of the negative traits or aspects of this yoga. So that's something which we will focus in this video. Now, one of the things which are also prominent is that such natives should be aware of and of course be mindful of their sexual outlook and their respect towards the opposite genders, particularly for men towards women. Okay, and this is one of the remedies to sort of strengthen your yoga, if you have, is to respect women of all ages, of all background, and that's the ultimate sort of remedy which I would recommend, which would perhaps amplify the positive qualities of Saturn and minimize all the negative aspects to have a good life, and of course build good karmas as well for you. The other aspect of Saturn is that it would probably incline you towards unscrupulous means of making money, some of the sort of incorrect ways, or may lead towards a wrong path, or some form of cheating or bribery. So this is something which the native should be careful of, because you might have a massive gain in the short or the medium term, but in the long run there would be suffering. So this is something which one should be mindful of. Of course, it gives wealth, but then the means of wealth are sort of important to consider for all of us. Okay, a bit more about Sasha Mahapurush Yoga. So Sasha, the word itself has many meanings. So one of the meaning, it is associated to an animal, and that's a rabbit or a hare. So that's what Sasha is associated to as well. So it makes the individual complacent, just like a rabbit or a hare, right? So you think that you're winning the race, but towards the end, it is the tortoise who is slow and steady, who sort of wins the race, because that's what Saturn gives, the kind of message, because Saturn scientifically is the slowest moving graha. Okay, so it wants you to be slow and steady. It wants you to build plenty of resilience and perseverance and have enough patience for you to get the desired outcome. So this is the kind of message which Saturn gives to the native, and avoid being complacent or procrastinating or being lethargic or lazy in terms of thinking that you've got it, but towards the end you won't get it. So this is something which we must be mindful of. Now, the positive and the negative results of this Saturn, which is placed in Kendra, either in its own sign or in the sign of exaltation, depends on the moon and its disposition, or the moon's placement. Yes, so this is one of the secret which I'd like to share with you, that moon's placement will decide whether this yoga will have the positive attributes of being disciplined, organized, hardworking, having a good command over people, and of course leading a large workforce and being a leader of an organization, or probably running your own successful business and ensuring that others grow as well. If moon is placed in strength, if moon is placed in either in Kendra or Trikona houses, if it's in a good sign, own sign, or friendly sign, and it has a good pakshabal as well, it is not afflicted or weak or under malefic influence. If the moon is afflicted, weak, or under the malefic influence, then we can expect the results of this yoga in a lot negative manner, right? So there could be certain evil results of native engaging in unscrupulous means of making money or achieving a rank or status, and not going the legitimate or the ideal manner. Okay, so moon's placement is really the key in making this yoga the best that you can have. Okay, now let's talk about the different houses, and if Saturn falls in any of these different houses, how some of the indications or results can possibly be. So if it is the first house, if Saturn's placed in the Lagna or the first house, this is a bit of a tricky placement, because otherwise if Saturn is in other signs, it's not a great placement because it's a Marankaraka sthana for Saturn. And it has 0 Digbal as well in this house. This is not somewhere Saturn really feels comfortable. But then being in its own sign or exaltation, that's an exception. So it's a good placement for Saturn in that case, and it's forming a good yoga as well. It makes the person mature. It ensures that the person has a lot of discipline, and from the health point of view, it gives stamina to the individual, it gives strong bones, and it ensures that the person is sort of continuously doing something or the other to keep them fit. So this is something which Saturn ensures in while it is placed in the first house. Okay, though being placed in the sign of Libra here is quite ideal, because it's a Yogakaraka Graha for Libra ascendants, and Saturn here forms a beautiful yoga. But one of the things which Saturn consistently does here is that it would delay everything in life. So things would come with some delay. So you need to have resilience, you need to have patience, you need to have plenty of perseverance. And it won't be sort of, things won't be denied, but it would just be a bit of a delay that you need to cope up with. So this is something which Saturn is likely to do in the first house. Let's talk about the fourth house. If Saturn is placed in the fourth house, either in own sign or exaltation, okay, it is wealth giving. It does give wealth to the native. Now, one of the things which I have seen with such a placement is that either individual is engaging in tax evasion, or they're working in a tax-free country, or sort of their income has a lot of tax benefit or is tax-free. So some or the other way. So this is something which is sort of observed. This placement also makes the individual an activist, okay, who would sort of work towards the society, towards the betterment of the society, and may have very strong views or opinions about anything that they have. It can also sort of make an individual sort of naturally artistic in nature, though it's not one of the inherent qualities of Saturn, but yes, it has been observed as well. And such individuals also are very much happy living sort of away from their homeland or outside of their country, living abroad. So if they are there, they prosper, and life is generally better. One of the things that I've also observed with this strong Saturn placement is that the native may own their own house or their land, but they might still be sort of living somewhere else on rent due to circumstances or situation. But then this placement is capable of giving multiple properties or piece of lands to the native. If Saturn is placed in the 7th house, now this is an interesting placement because Saturn is getting directional strength, and at the same time, it is the natural house where Saturn gets exalted as well, in the house of Libra, the natural Kalpurush charter. So here, governance is the key word for this kind of Saturn, okay, because this will make the individual inclined towards law and order, towards setting up law and order, towards working towards law and order, being very disciplined in nature. The native might like to sort of, rise early as they can. From the perspective of spouse, I think this placement is much better, though people say that, okay, Saturn placed in the 7th house, your marriage is delayed, but then it's not denied. I would say that this Saturn ensures that the native gets married at the right time, at the right age, and the spouse is likely to be someone who's mature someone who's sort of like-minded, and someone who has the same kind of discipline which the native would expect. Okay, and it is actually very positive for a happy and a long-lasting married life. If there are no afflictions on this Saturn, if it's not under malefic influence, and if the seventh lord is in good dignity. So these are some of the conditions which could be there. So it is quite positive for marriage. If Saturn is placed in the 10th house, Saturn is also one of the karaka for the 10th house. It is the natural ruler for the 10th house of the Kalpurusha chart. This makes the individual a leader. This also makes the individual a capable teacher. Okay, there is a consistent support from the government which native can expect if they are in similar kind of work. And I've also observed a lot of people who have this placement, who have Saturn forming a Sasha yoga in the 10th house. They're highly qualified in terms of their academics. So it could be a postgraduate or a PhD or a doctor in and a doctor in different kind of sort of sciences. So homeopathy, Ayurveda, right, and not just the medicinal, the usual science, but yeah, something different, something which is not sort of usual. That's the kind of path which the native might take. Okay. So this is about Saturn in the 10th house. So it is the strongest when it is the 10th house, and of course, in sort of descending order, we could say the 7th house and the 4th house, and then the 1st house, because 10th house is the strongest Kendra houses. Now, some conditions which are most important to ensure that this yoga is manifesting and giving the desired and positive results is that Saturn's placement in the divisional charts. So its Shadvarga should be high, okay, in terms of percentage, which would mean that it's in a good dignity in the Navamsha. It's not debilitated. It is in a good dignity in the Sashyamsha, in the Shamsha, because that's a karmic chart again. So some of the important divisional charts is it must be placed either in a friendly sign or own sign or in the sign of exaltation. Okay, so that's how it will give the desired results. The other thing, just to probably re-emphasize on, is most important is the moon's placement. That will be the ultimate deciding factor or on the kind of results which Saturn would deliver in a Sasha Mahapurush yoga. And lastly, if this Saturn gets associated with Guru by a conjunction, okay, if Guru is in strength, or an aspect, it could be quite auspicious, because that is how Jupiter would sort of accentuate and elevate the positive qualities of Saturn and sort of bring it for the native. And it is a natural dharma karma adipati yoga as well. Okay, so yes, that is quite positive. So this is about Sasha Mahapurush yoga. The next video will be about Ruchak Mahapurush yoga, which is formed by Mangal. I hope you like this video. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. In case you wish to reach out for a consultation, for a personalized reading, please write to me. Here's my email, and I wish you a blessed week ahead. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.